Hello guys and welcome back to More Than Makeup. I'm Kellsie and this week we are doing things a little different on the podcast. When I launched this podcast, my goal was to do video, but it just felt really overwhelming and it kept putting me off. Like it was the reason why it took me so long to get the podcast up and going because I was procrastinating because I couldn't figure out this whole video thing. So I thought I'm just going to start with the audio and just figure that out first and then we'll see how we go. So over the holidays, I had a bit of a social media break. I actually deleted my Instagram and TikTok off of my phone just so I wouldn't touch the apps because I really needed to just get offline for a bit. And during that time, I had to fill in my time elsewhere. So I started watching YouTube again, which was really fun for me because YouTube is not the first app that I go to. I usually go to Instagram or TikTok when I'm bored, just because I'm not super familiar with YouTube. But during my time off of social media, I went to YouTube and I was watching some videos and I saw that people were podcasting on YouTube in a very simplistic way, like just in their bedrooms with a microphone, filming on their phones. So I just thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a go because I really want to do video. I want to post to YouTube a little bit more. So here we go. As always, thanks for tuning in and for supporting the podcast. I'm loving all of the reviews and the comments and the DMs you're sending me. So please keep that up. Podcasting is a bit different than other forms of content because I don't really know if it's working or if it isn't. So I love your feedback. Today's episode is actually something I've had to kind of learn the hard way. And I'm honestly still really learning. And I want to talk about boundaries in business. So I come from a corporate background. I was an event planner. I worked for a big corporate company and I worked 5 days a week. I very much was like structured. There was clear roles, clear hours, clear expectations. And then things did like a total 180 for me. And I went into makeup and my workday was completely different. My whole work life was completely different. And you guys would know if you're working makeup artist that in the beginning, you just say yes to everything. You do everything. You burn yourself out. You say yes to every single opportunity and you really don't have boundaries in the beginning, which honestly I think is okay. Like you kind of have to learn it yourself, but you do get to a point in your career where you have to set boundaries in so many different parts of the business. So what I want to talk about today is what I've learned over the past 10 years as a bridal makeup artist and how I've started to set boundaries for myself now and kind of how that evolved as my career started to shift. And the first thing I want to talk about is setting boundaries with your work life and your home life. And this was the hardest thing for me because like I said, I went from working in an office environment, so 8 till 5, very structured. But at the end of the day, my laptop would close and I'd go home and just focus on my personal life. Whereas since transitioning into makeup and ultimately entrepreneurship, that really stopped happening. And still to this day, I'm still guilty of it, right? Like I'm still trying to get better at this. But sometimes you open your laptop at 11 o'clock at night. And a lot of the times, this was how I got my business rolling. Like I would get motivation at 9 p.m. at night and just think, okay, well, while the motivation's here, I've got to go for it. So I did build my business by not having that structure, by being able to work whenever I had that inspiration. But I think that once you get to a point that this is your full-time job and it is taking up a lot of your time, then it is important to set boundaries with the home life and the makeup artistry life or the business life. Sometimes it feels like I'm working all the time, but not really achieving anything because you kind of work through all different pockets of the day. Like you're not really working from 8 till 5. You're working for 3 hours of the morning, then you're going out and going to the gym, then coming home and maybe doing a bit of work. Then you're maybe going out for a drink, then coming home, like whatever. It's never structured. And while this is like the beauty of entrepreneurship, like I love the fact that if my friend calls me at 3 o'clock and wants to go for a walk or go to Pilates or go grab a glass of wine, that I can, but it also can work to your detriment as well because it means that your work life and your home life is just like clashing. And I think that separating the two can be really, really effective. And one of the easiest ways I've found to create that separation is working from a cafe. So where I live in Canada, I really would do this just to get out of the house because when I moved to Canada, I was on my own. I didn't have many friends and I just needed to get out of the house. So I would go to a cafe and sit there and work. And it kind of made me feel like I was in the office. It made me feel like I had other people around me that were working on their laptops. I felt more productive. I kind of got to mentally clock in once I got to the cafe and there was no distractions. When you're working from home, you have all the distractions around you. Right now, my bedroom's a mess. I have laundry there. Like that's distracting me from my work. Obviously, I can't go and record a podcast in a studio, but you know what I mean. If I was sitting here writing back to emails or doing admin, then that can really put you off and really pull you out of work mode. So even working in a cafe 2 to 3 days a week or committing to like 2 full days where you go down there, obviously I would order a coffee and potentially order some lunch while I'm sitting there as well. I'm not just milking their Wi-Fi all day, but I feel like when you're at home, you're kind of half working, half living. Whereas when you're in a cafe, you're really, really focused. And that's where I've gotten a lot of my work done. When I started building courses and all of that kind of stuff, I was doing all of that in a cafe. Another thing you can do is set work hours. So treat it like a salary. Treat it like I'm getting paid from 9 till 5. So I need to work within those hours. And whether you're working within those hours at home or in a cafe, treat it that way. The key here isn't really the hours, it's the boundary. So you might say to yourself, okay, from 9 till 1 today, I'm solely going to focus on the business. I'm going to turn my notifications off, not open Instagram or TikTok, and I'm just going to focus on whatever it is you're working on, whether it be editing content, replying to emails, building courses, whatever it is, you're focusing on that from 9 till 1 or 12 or whatever time it is, it doesn't matter. But lock in for those 5 hours and commit to it as if you're getting paid for it. Like kind of pretend that you're still in that corporate job and that someone else is watching over you, because that's the hardest thing, right? When you're an entrepreneur, you don't have that accountability. So you kind of have to give that to yourself, which is really hard and requires a lot of discipline. But when you figure it out, it's really, really helpful. And I think it's really important that you do the important work during those hours. So this is actually why I hired an admin assistant. That's a whole other episode in itself. But I did start to find that when I was focusing on my work within those hours, whether I was at the cafe or working from home or whatever, I would get caught up doing really time-consuming tasks that weren't moving the needle in my business. And we all have to do it. Like you all have to do that kind of stuff. So I ended up hiring an admin assistant to help me with that so I could focus on the money-making tasks, the course building, the content creation, all that kind of stuff. So I always say start with the money-making tasks first. Like if you're on your own, you don't have the assistant yet, you don't have any help, you're just building your business, rather than starting with your emails, then move into your content creation, then your admin, so your client replies and all of that, but leave that stuff till the end because you want to be doing stuff first that moves the needle and moves the business forward. And then what happens when you dedicate those hours to your work, it removes the whole, oh, I'll just open the laptop at 11 p.m. tonight because I just need to do that one thing. If I have ideas the night before, like rather than opening my laptop, I'll write myself a note and say, hey, tomorrow, this is your to-do list, and write down exactly what needs to happen on that day. Otherwise, you're just working around the clock and it can get really time consuming and also make this entrepreneurial experience less exciting and less fun. Like the beauty of being an entrepreneur and working your own hours is that you can have more freedom. But if you don't have boundaries, you can get really caught up in just working 24 hours a day. Now, this is something I've been trying to work on lately, and that's creating a work shutdown ritual. So this is really simple, but really powerful. It's basically where you close your laptop at the end of the day. Like it's not rocket science. We've all done it in other jobs, but sometimes for some reason in our own business, it's so hard. So it's really where you physically leave the space. Like you write tomorrow's to-do list, going back to putting lists in your phone or writing, notes for what you need to do the next day, which is what you would have done in your older jobs, right? Like in your older jobs before you're a makeup artist or an entrepreneur or whatever, you would have to wait until the next day. So trying to create that work shutdown ritual, it's really hard for me because I work from home. I don't really want to see work at the end of the day, right? So what I try and do, and when I'm traveling it's a bit harder, but I try and close down my laptop, put the laptop in its case away overnight. When it comes to my makeup, like if I'm filming content, I try and pack my makeup up so I can't see the makeup at the end of the day. Like I don't want to see anything in my home that reminds me of work. This is why I love the whole cafe thing too, because you're really separating the two. So whatever it is you can do at the end of the day to just shut off your work, whether it's working in a spare room, if you have one, shut the door so you don't have to see it until tomorrow. If you're working in your common areas like your living room, your kitchen, whatever, I really recommend shutting things down properly and packing things away. Just this year, I actually redecorated my beauty room, which is where I do all my makeup and film all my content. And I actually made the decision to create storage that was all in drawers because I'm actually traveling at the moment and you can see there's some makeup up here. But at my house, I have everything packed away because at the end of the day, I don't want to see my makeup because it is work, right? So I specifically built that beauty room with the intention of, okay, I'm going to be working out of home, but at the end of the day, I want it to feel like it's home, not like it's work. So everything is tucked away in drawers. I clean my desk, I wipe everything down, and I can just move on with my personal life at the end of the day. I want to talk about how to avoid negativity in general, not just online, but in person as well, and why this is a really strong boundary that you should set for yourself from the get-go. And it can be really hard, especially in the beauty industry, because there is a lot of negativity, especially in the way that we run our businesses on social media. It's so hard to avoid. It feels like sometimes some people online are just chronically negative and want to find something negative, and it can be really hard to avoid online, but also in person. Like industry gossip is a real thing as well. And, I know this just through like my husband runs a hair salon. So I'm in the hair salon and I can hear the stylist talking, and like it's part of any any industry, really. Like there's gossip in any workplace and in any industry. But for some reason, I think because we have a female dominated industry, it's very prevalent in the beauty industry. And I made it my goal years ago to not engage in negativity. So if someone come to me with a piece of information, I would politely just cut off that conversation because I didn't want to be involved. I don't want to hear it. As much as sometimes it's like, oh, I'm a little bit curious. I maybe want to hear what's going on. But the minute you let that in, it's almost like low vibrational. It drags you down. And when you engage, it's like the conversation starts rolling, right? And before you know, you've spent all this time engaged in a conversation that does not serve you at all. Like it doesn't serve your business. It isn't helping you grow. It isn't helping your mindset become stronger. It isn't helping you expand in any way. All it's doing is limiting you and limiting your growth. So that was a big thing. Even now, sometimes I'll get DMs on Instagram from people just being like, hey, Kellsie, did you see this happen? And what are your thoughts? I either won't reply. There's some DMs that I don't see anymore. So there's that. Some of them I just see them and I don't reply to them. Sometimes I'll reply and be like, I'm so sorry. I know nothing about that. It's not my place. Just cut the conversation off. And it's not that I don't have an opinion. Of course I have an opinion. Everyone has an opinion, but I don't care to engage or to talk about it because I've got better things to do. Like I'm busy. I'm running a business. I'd rather put that time and energy into building a course or teaching a makeup artist how to grow a business or hosting a masterclass or filming a podcast or whatever it is. So when that stuff comes my way, I shut it out and I leave that time for me to build and to grow and to focus on my own business. I genuinely don't have time to focus on what other people are doing. And I just think that it's an easy trap to fall into, especially online, because we see a lot of negative videos. And this is why people post these type of videos and this type of content is because it's clickbait. People are quick to jump in the comments and save the video and send it to their friend and whatever. Like it's controversial and those type of videos perform well, but I don't think it's a healthy way to grow your brand, to be honest. And I just think that complaining, gossiping, dissecting what other people are doing, leaving negative comments, creating videos about other people, like all of that, it's all negative content. And I just think like, imagine what you could be doing if you weren't engaging in that. Like imagine how you could be growing your business and your brand and building a life for yourself if you didn't engage with that. So it's a slippery slope and it can be an easy trap to fall into and a hard one to get out of. So I just wanted to point that out, that as an entrepreneur, your time is your most valuable asset and you really don't want to spend that time engaging in that kind of stuff. That's why you will never see me commenting on a negative video. Like if I see something that's picking at something or picking at someone, you will never see my name under it because I don't even like seeing it, to be honest. It's not even in my algorithm anymore because those type of videos I scroll past so quickly, like it gives me the ick and I don't want to see it. I think that's a good thing to point out, that your time's your most valuable asset. And sometimes you have to learn this the hard way. It could be you engaging in something and then you also never know who you're talking to, right? Like you just don't know who you can trust. And that's just like a life thing. This is why engaging in gossip isn't healthy in general, because it always comes back to bite you on the ass. I just think it's an important boundary to put in place in the beginning in business, because the quicker you can cut that stuff out, the quicker you can grow. And that's what we're doing here. Like the purpose of this podcast and me talking to you guys about this kind of stuff is to teach you how to build a business and how to build a healthy one. You don't want to build the reputation of being that person who complains and is negative and quick to comment on what other people are doing. Like you want to build a business that you can be really proud of and that other people look to and seek inspiration from. And I think that's just a more professional way of doing things. Protecting your energy isn't just a personal boundary. It really is a business strategy. And I think that we can all learn a lesson here, that in a world where there is so much negativity online and we just see it everywhere, I think it's really brave to not play into it. I want to talk about how to create boundaries around clients. I feel like this is something I haven't heard spoken about too much. And I think the next point is a little bit more specific to the beauty industry. But honestly, if you're listening in from any other industry and you're in client-facing work, I think you can take something from this as well. But speaking from my experience as a makeup artist, when I first started out, I said yes to every single job. And we have to do that, okay? So if you're a newer makeup artist and you're listening to this podcast, don't take this as a sign that you need to just start saying no to everyone because the vibes are off. There is a sense of like you have to go through it in the beginning. And I definitely went through it. I said yes to everything. Up until about, I would say 3 years ago, honestly, I was still saying yes to everything and it worked. Like it got me to a point that I wanted to be at. It got me to a point where I can now talk to you about these experiences and educate and share my lessons. So it wasn't all for nothing. But yeah, I think I just said yes to everything because I needed the money. That's a big thing. Really needed the money, needed the exposure, and needed to build my reputation. So in the beginning, you do just say yes to everything, but I was in full-blown survival mode. Like, I was driving 3 hours for zero travel fee to do makeup for $100. Like, it's crazy the stuff that we do in the beginning. This is going back years ago. I remember some jobs would make me feel really deflated and I'd leave with almost no energy. And then other jobs, I'd leave and have so much energy. Like, I'd feel so vibrant and be like, oh my God, that was the best job ever. I'm the best makeup artist ever. Like, this was amazing. And then other jobs I'd walk away from and be like, oh my gosh, I suck. Like, I'm not good. In the beginning, I didn't really connect the dots, but a few years into it, I realized that the reason why I was leaving some jobs feeling really motivated and some jobs really deflated was because the jobs that I left feeling really deflated, I had no boundaries around. Like, I had done makeup on 9 people instead of the 5 that were booked. I had started at 3 a.m. instead of putting a boundary around that. So I was exhausted. I was potentially saying yes to clients that had red flags and weren't really my ideal client. Like, I started to connect the dots and see, okay, this is why these jobs aren't working out and I need to do something about this. And again, I get it. In the beginning, you don't get to be selective. Like, you just have to take on whatever you can. I'm talking more so when you're at a point where you are kind of fully booked and you are making enough money. That's when you can start to look at certain jobs and certain clients and be like, does this really serve me? Because ultimately, when you work in customer service, I think there is such a focus around like you making the customer happy and you making the client happy. And that is our job. But at the end of the day, this is our living. This is our livelihood as well. So I want to walk away from the jobs feeling energized. Of course, I'm going to be tired some days, but for the most part, I want to walk away from my work and be like, wow, that was amazing. I had a great day. And not every day is going to be perfect, but for the most part, if like 80% of it can be fulfilling, then I think that's the goal. And I think the only way to make that happen is by setting boundaries with your clients and with your work. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned in this is that not every paying client is the right client. So just because the client's paying the invoice doesn't necessarily mean they're your client. So there are some red flags that you can watch out for early on. This is, specifically for makeup artists and hairstylists that are dealing with brides. One big flag for me in the beginning, because a lot of people say to me, how do you know if the client is like a walking red flag? What do you look out for? One of the biggest things for me is client confusion. I have a website form. So all the clients will come to my website, they'll fill out the form, they'll send it to me, and then that's where the journey of the quoting, everything starts. If when they come to me in that form, they're already showing signs of confusion, that's a little bit of a red flag. So little things, sometimes they'll leave a message in the comment box and say, oh my gosh, I've tested out 3 makeup artists and they've all been horrible. To me, that's a red flag. You're coming into my website form and you're already bagging out other makeup artists. That doesn't really check out for me. So that would be one example. Another example, not too long ago, I had a bride reach out to me. She was a bit vague in her website form, but I sent her a quote regardless. Now, when I send clients a quote, I am so thorough because again, through setting these boundaries, I've learned how to be really thorough in the first couple of emails. So there's not many emails back and forth. So when a client sends through the website form, I send them a price guide. If it's a job I'm willing to take on and I'm available and all of that, I then send them my price guide. Now, my price guide is 11 pages long. Like, it covers every bit of information they could possibly need to know. There's even a frequently asked questions thing in there. Like, there's so much information. And I do that strategically so that there's not a lot of emails back and forth and just to reduce admin time. So this particular bride came back to me and basically asked me a bunch of questions that were already listed in my website form. So I could tell that she hadn't read the form. And I get it. Sometimes the forms are overwhelming for them. It's a lot of information for them to take in. I get it. But the question she was asking me, I was like, okay, she really didn't read anything, but what the hell? I went back to her, answered the questions. She then come back to me and said that she wanted a phone call to see if we were in line and that my style matched hers. This to me was a little bit of a red flag as well. I don't like doing phone calls with clients before they've actually booked me. Now, I know in certain countries, especially America and Canada, I know it's really common to do client calls. So however your process is, like, that's totally fine. For me, growing up as a bridal makeup artist in Australia, we don't really do the phone call thing. Definitely not before they've paid a deposit. Like, obviously once it's locked in, then I'm willing to serve them however possible. But before there's a deposit, that can just really be time consuming. And again, like, you're kind of lacking boundaries if you're having phone calls with all these clients that haven't even locked you in. Like, you could end up having 4 calls with them and then deciding that they don't want to proceed with you. So again, at this point in my business, my time's so valuable. So anyway, she wanted to jump on a call to see if our styles aligned. And I kind of went back to her and said, hey, this is my Instagram, this is my website, this is my TikTok. Like, you can see everything you really need to see. And you guys know, like, I'm content heavy. You can go to my Instagram and you can see exactly what type of makeup artist I am, and nothing's filtered or edited. It's all video content, like everything's there. At this point, me and the bride had sent like 13 emails between each other. Then the wedding planner reaches out. And at this point, the wedding planner sends me an email and she's kind of asking me all the same questions that I'd previously answered in my emails with the bride, but now the wedding planner is asking me. So it really got to the point where I was like, okay, no one's absorbing any of the information I've provided, and I have provided more than enough information. So I actually kind of went to the wedding planner and just said, hey, I don't think our visions are aligned here, and I feel like I'm not the right makeup artist for this bride. And I politely backed out of the job. And that was because I've set boundaries for myself, that when I see these red flags, I know that it's really not worth it. Because if the red flags are there from the beginning, you better believe that that client is probably going to be difficult for you later on. And there's nothing worse than realizing that on the wedding day. So if you can spot these things early on, it might sound small, but to me, that's already like a boundary crossed when they're ignoring information. So that's what client boundaries look like in practice. You kind of just declining work that doesn't align with your values and your time, and sometimes choosing not to work with people that drain your energy. And again, this might not happen until a few years into your career. Like in the beginning, you just got to do it, right? But I'm truly of the belief now that alignment is more important than income. And the clients that do respect your time and read things properly and are excited to work with you, not concerned or confused. Like they're not, oh, I'm not sure if I want to work with you, but can you tell me why I should? Like if they're not sure about why they should work with you, then that's a bit of a red flag. And people often ask me if I have bridezillas. And the truth is these days I really don't, because I've worked really hard with my boundaries and knowing what jobs to say yes to and what jobs to say no to. So I feel like me and my brides are really incredibly aligned now, and I kind of attract what I put out. So that's the goal. Like when you respect your work and you respect your craft and your boundaries and your time, then your clients will as well. So there's just little things to look out for. And I think that you can tell a lot from the first couple of emails. So respecting your own boundaries there is really important. And that takes time, but if you can just be aware of it from the get-go, then I think it'll make your work-life balance just much healthier. Now, to add on to the whole setting boundaries with clients thing, I want to talk about how it's important to limit the number of clients you take on at a time. This is something you learn again a couple of years into your career, but I've spoken about this before as well. It is something that's been truly life-changing for me. So in the beginning, I was doing makeup on 10 people by myself. And a lot of this happened accidentally through me not having boundaries. So I would book, let's say, 7 people, but then on the wedding day, they would ask me to do more and I would just say yes because I had no boundaries for myself. I needed the money. I wanted to please the clients. I wanted them to walk away from the job and be like, oh my gosh, she was amazing. She said yes to everything. But what it meant is that I was physically drained out. Like I'd get home from these jobs and it would take me days to get over them. It would feel like I was hungover sometimes. So I was doing that up until a couple of years ago. And it wasn't until I was going through a bit of a hard time in my personal life and I was seeking therapy, and my therapist actually taught me this. Like she said to me, Kellsie, you really shouldn't be doing makeup on more than 4 to 5 people, because it's not just doing the makeup, right? And I know makeup artistry to people on the outside, I think it's so easy and it looks so easy. But if you're a makeup artist, you understand that it is emotionally exhausting and physically exhausting too. Like a lot of the times we're standing up for 8 hours at a time with no food, and sometimes you even forget to drink water. So my therapist taught me that it was really important for me to drop the number of clients I was doing and just protect my energy and my time a little bit more. And sometimes this means having to increase your prices, because the reason why we do makeup on 8, 9, 10 people is because we want more money. So therefore we think we need to work harder to earn more money, whereas you can be a bit more strategic about it and you can take less people but charge a bit more. Therefore you're still walking away with the same amount of money, but you have a bit more energy and a bit more motivation at the end of the job. So when I set this boundary, it wasn't just about reducing the workload. It really was protecting my energy and being able to fully show up for every client. So I decided to drop my number to 4. So now I only do makeup on 4 people. Sometimes if I'm on the job and there's one extra person and the job is flowing nicely and they're a nice group and I'm feeling energetic and I feel like doing it, then I might take on one more. So some jobs I'm doing makeup on 4 to 5 people, but for the most part, I'm sticking to 4 people. And the way that I stick this boundary is I just say to the bride, like in my price guide, it mentions that I only do makeup on 4 people. In some cases, if they need an extra makeup artist, I can bring an assistant with me. If I'm in an area where I know someone, I can bring someone with me. But if not, like if I'm going to a country where I don't really know anyone or I don't know anyone I trust enough to bring onto one of my jobs, then I'll just say to the bride, hey, I can do makeup on 4 people, but then you'll have to hire someone locally for the rest of the group. And that's happened a lot. Like earlier this year in Mexico, I worked on a big wedding. I did 4 people. That's kind of nice because usually it's just the family. Like when you stick to 4 people, the bride will generally give you the family. So it'll be like the bride, the sister, the mum, the grandma or whatever. And then a local makeup artist was hired to do the bridesmaids. So it was a really nice morning because the jobs just become a bit more enjoyable when you're not burnt out. And that's the biggest thing. Like you set this boundary to avoid burnout. And I should do a whole episode on burnout actually, because this is something that every makeup artist can relate to. Every entrepreneur really. We've all experienced burnout to some capacity. And you get to the point where you want to enjoy the jobs. You want them to be fulfilling. So I think limiting the number of clients is one way to really set that boundary, which leads me into pricing. We couldn't do this boundary episode without talking about pricing. So by the way, I'm saving all of my pricing talk for podcasting now. So if you enjoy the pricing conversation, keep tuning into the podcast. I'm not going to talk about money online anymore. I learned the hard way. But one of the biggest ways to protect your boundaries is to avoid burnout. And one of the easiest ways to avoid burnout is to increase your prices so you don't have to work as hard. It's just simple entrepreneurial maths. Like if you want to work a bit less, then you have to increase your prices because you don't want to earn less money. Like the point of entrepreneurship is to scale every year and to build the business and to continue to grow. But without increasing your prices, you just can't do that. But when we're talking about pricing, something that a lot of you makeup artists might have encountered is people not having respect around your pricing. So that can come in the form of clients asking you for discounts or saying, oh, hey, this makeup artist quoted me this. Can you match it? Again, I'm like a broken record. In the beginning, you have to do these sort of things. Like, don't get me wrong. I discounted so many jobs in the beginning just to get on the jobs. Were the jobs very fulfilling? No, they were always the most difficult clients. And when you read a lot of entrepreneurial books and podcasts and whatnot, everyone says the same thing. The cheap clients are the ones that cause the most problems. So the ones that ask for the discounts generally cause the most disruption in your business, but it is one of those things that you just have to experience. Sometimes people will ask you for discounts and it can be really awkward because you kind of want to say, well, what's in it for me? What am I getting if I give this discount? Because if you're discounting a client, there has to be a mutual benefit. And I talk about this a lot when I talk about destination weddings and booking your first destination wedding. In my course, Global Glam, I have a whole chapter on discounting your first couple of jobs because I believe that in the beginning, you kind of have to. However, you have to be strategic with it. You don't want to discount just anyone, especially if they're like using you against another makeup artist. Like, oh, this makeup artist is charging this. Can you match it? Like, I don't like that kind of thing. But if a client come to me and said, hey, Kellsie, I love your work. I adore it. You're my dream makeup artist. I would do anything. But sadly, we don't have the budget for this. Is there something you could do? That to me is a reasonable approach to asking for a discount. Like, she's being honest. She's saying she loves my work. She's praising me and she's just asking if there's anything I can do. And that's reasonable. You're allowed to ask. And that's when I would look at the job and be like, okay, is this going to benefit me and my business? Because like I said, if you're discounting, it has to be mutually beneficial. That was a mouthful to get out. So I'll look at things like, okay, where's the country? What type of wedding is it going to be? Is it my ideal client? Is this bride, even though she's asking for a bit of a discount, is she the type of bride I want to attract in? Because what you put out is what you get back in business. So if a bride is asking you for a discount, but she's getting married in this beautiful location, let's use Fiji, for example. If you're a makeup artist, your dream location is to work in Fiji and you get an inquiry of this bride who praises you, loves you, politely asks you for a discount, and you really want to work in Fiji. It's your dream. You want to tap into destination weddings and you want to go down that journey, then that's really the perfect opportunity for you to discount, right? Because it's going to be almost like a marketing exercise for you. You're going to get something out of it. You're going to get some incredible content and you're both benefiting from it. So in that case, discounting is okay, but you also want to make sure that you're getting something out of it too, and that the client is not just taking advantage of you. That's the biggest thing. I think having boundaries around pricing is also extends to extra requests. And I touched on this before, but sometimes when you're on the job, people will ask you to do makeup on more people. We've all had it happen to us. And again, you really need to ask yourself, what is your boundary here? Like, what do you feel comfortable doing? On some jobs, sometimes you walk into jobs and they're just exhausting. The music's super loud. There's people everywhere. You can't hear your own thoughts. You've already done makeup on 8 people and then they ask you to do 2 more. In that moment, I would politely say, I'm so sorry. I have another job to get to. You don't just want to be be outright like, no, sorry, don't feel like it. There's a polite way of doing things, but that's the kind of moment where I would decline that offer because I want to protect my energy. If it's a small job of 4 people and maybe there's an extra person in the room and she's feeling a bit left out, she decides she wants to get her makeup and you've had a really beautiful morning and you feel like doing it, then why not? Boundaries are all about yourself and what you're comfortable doing. I think having clear deliverables in your contract really helps here as well, because when you have a strong contract, then you're kind of setting the expectations from the beginning. So a couple of boundaries I have in my contract is I don't really like to start makeup before 6 a.m. So everyone's different here. I'm just not, it's funny that my family makes fun of the fact that I'm a makeup artist because I'm not an early riser. Like I'm just not, I was not born that way. On my vacation the last month, I've been sleeping till like 9 a.m. every morning. I'm not an early riser. I don't operate well waking up that early. When you're a makeup artist, it's kind of part of it, so you have to get used to it. But I don't really like starting jobs before 6 a.m. because if you have a 6 a.m. start, or let's say a 5 a.m. start, you've got to be up at 3:30 in the morning. And some weddings require you to be at the venue at 3 a.m. Like that is a living nightmare for me. I know I wouldn't be able to get to sleep the night before. So that's a boundary for me. I don't want to start makeup before 6 a.m. because for me, I'm not going to feel good after that job. Luckily enough, in Europe and a lot of destination weddings, they get married later in the afternoon. So it actually is kind of perfect for me because a lot of the time we're not starting makeup till 12. But that's one boundary I have, and that's in my contract. Another boundary is that I only do makeup on 4 people. That's also in my contract. Subtle things that like are boundaries of mine, but I've worked them into my contract to set the expectation for the bride so that nothing's going to pop up on the day that I can't fall back on and be like, oh, well, actually in my contract. Contracts are key here. They protect both you and the client. And just on the pricing subject as well, if you're a bit further on in your career and you're maybe an educator now, I also think it's really important to have boundaries around advice and education and protecting your energy in that sense. And I'm very much of the belief serve, sell. So when you're an educator, you have to give a certain level of education away for free, hence this podcast, because that's going to build trust and that's what you have to do when you're an educator. But sometimes people will try and take advantage of that. And I've had to put boundaries in place here because I used to be that person that when people come to me in the DMs, basically wanting a coaching call in the DMs, like I would give them one, but I've had to set boundaries around that because it's my time and I have lots of different things going on in my business. Your time is so valuable no matter what stage of your career you're at. So potentially if you are in education, you've got a lot of people in your DMs. First of all, it's a good sign because it means you're approachable. So don't stop sending me the DMs. I still love them and I'll help where I can. But sometimes there's lots of layers to it. So it's really not as simple as me replying a quick answer. Like it requires a coaching call, you know? So I have set up coaching calls because of that reason, because I would also rather serve you properly. I don't want to give you a half-ass answer. I'd rather get on a call with you and give you 60 to 90 minutes of my time and really serve you properly. Paid discovery calls and coaching calls are just a great way to offer more value while still protecting your own energy. And then there's the big one, which I've just been dying to get to, and that is raising your prices without guilt. When I think of 2025, all I think of is like pricing, because I felt like that's all I talked about. But what I noticed in all of that, if you're following along, I'm sure you know how controversial it all was, but what I found in all of that is that people just feel so guilty about raising their prices. And even yesterday, I had one of my friends, she's in the spray tanning business, and she messaged me and said, hey, Kels, I've got this job and it's an inquiry for this job and it's going to require me to travel. And this is what I typically charge for travel. Do you think it's enough? And I just outrightly went back to her and said, no, it's not enough. You should be charging this amount. And she was like, oh my gosh, there's no way I could quote her that. There's absolutely no way. I don't think she'll book it. I don't think she'll pay. And I'm like, well, how do you know if you don't try? But what I want to focus on here is her guilt, her already feeling bad for increasing the prices, even though she's worth that. It's her time, right? She's going to be traveling, leaving her studio. When you're spray tanning, you're in a studio all day spray tanning clients. So if you have to leave, you're losing money. So when I put it to her like that, she was like, okay, I'll try it out. And she felt so guilty, but the client booked her. So I think this is a big thing. And when we go back to makeup artistry, obviously, you can't just increase your prices out of nowhere. We've talked about this before. Your portfolio needs to align, your experience, all of that comes into it. You can't just decide you want to charge $500 per person and throw the number on it. Like there's many more things that go into it. But over time, your pricing has to go up. It has to. That is what a business is. That is what entrepreneurship is. It's scaling every year. And if you look at every other thing in life, every other business, every other person you pay in life, even to fill up your car with gas every year, it goes up, right? So we need to stop feeling guilty about increasing our prices because it really is just smart business. Like, it's not greedy, it's just smart business and it's strategy, and that's what you have to do. It's also part of valuing and owning your own expertise. Like, I know I'm a good makeup artist. I know that I'm experienced and well-traveled and a well-rounded artist, and I want my prices to be reflective of that. So yeah, I think setting clear boundaries around pricing, discounts, extras, early start times, all of that, it isn't just about money. It's really about creating sustainable work. And that's what setting boundaries is about. It's about protecting your energy and really building a business that grows with you. I'm at a stage now where I'm married and eventually might have some kids, and I want to have boundaries in my work life so I can be fully present in my home life as well. Like, that's really important to me too. So the last couple of years, it wasn't like that. Like, I was hustling, but it gets to a point where you have to put boundaries in place to protect your own energy and to really enjoy your job, because you don't want to get to a point where you hate what you're doing because you're so burnt out and you almost get resentful. A big thing that I noticed with the pricing post, and the reason why a lot of people were angry, because it was almost like they were angry at themselves that they've been in the industry for 20 years and haven't increased their prices. So they're not fulfilled anymore because then they haven't protected that boundary. When you have these boundaries and you value your work and you respect your work and your time, then everything just feels a little easier and a little lighter and just more enjoyable. All right, guys, we've covered a lot today. I really enjoyed this episode about setting boundaries in business because it did take me a long time to learn. So I think this episode is really good for newer makeup artists that, want to set boundaries from the beginning to kind of build that foundation and set themselves up for success, but also makeup artists that have been in the game for a while and maybe have realized that they're a little burnt out, or that they don't have boundaries around things that they want to have boundaries around, or that they just feel like something's not right. I think some of the big things we've covered: how to separate business and home life, a really big one when you're an entrepreneur, because it's very easy for things to get cloudy and for all of a sudden your laptop to be in bed with you, which I'm very guilty of, especially at the moment while I'm on vacation. My laptop is in bed with me every day, but I can't wait to get back to home, back to my house, and have those boundaries in place again and go back to my cafe days and all of that. We've spoken about energy boundaries, so being really careful what you let in terms of negativity and what you absorb as well, like what you watch, the content you absorb. And that's why I said before, like, if I see a negative video, I scroll past really quickly because I don't want to let that in. I'd rather watch some video of like ducks or puppy dogs or something, because that is more fulfilling to me than seeing a video of someone complaining about something. We've talked about client boundaries and how to protect your energy, how to spot red flags, how to protect your boundaries around limiting clients and taking on fewer clients, and essentially raising your prices so that you can take less clients, but you can still earn the same amount, if not more money. And then, of course, we've talked about pricing and how we shouldn't feel guilty about raising our prices, because it really is just part of business and it's what every other business does. So we need to really adopt that same mindset of scaling and growing every year, because that is what entrepreneurship is, and that's how we build sustainable businesses. So not feeling guilty around that, and also knowing that it's okay to discount some jobs, but only if it's mutually beneficial and that you're going to get something out of it and your business is going to get something out of it as well. Before I wrap up, I want to say that boundaries are always evolving as well. Like, there's different things that pop up in business that you're like, oh, I need to set a boundary around that. I need to put that in the contract. There's always little things popping up, and boundaries don't make you difficult. They actually make you seem more professional. Like, I genuinely think clients have respected me more since I've raised my prices, and since I have stronger contracts in place, and since I have these boundaries. Like, it makes you appear professional, and people respect that. Like, if you're airy-fairy and anything goes and there's no contracts and everything's fluffy, then to a client, sometimes that can be a bit concerning. So I honestly believe that since putting boundaries in place, my clients have respected me more. So a good exercise to play around with as well. And the right people won't be affected by your boundaries. There's a quote, and I'm going to say it wrong, but it's something like, the only people that are hurt by your boundaries are the ones that benefited from you having none. I think that's it. It's a really good one. It's not mine, obviously. That's from a book that I read, something. But that's so true. Like, the right people will not be offended or hurt by your boundaries. They will respect it and appreciate them and probably have more respect for you. It'll only be the clients that you don't really want, or the team members that you don't really want in your team, or whoever it is. You'll only have much better clients, much better opportunities, and just healthier relationships in general when you have boundaries in place. So that was fun, my first video episode, and it felt really chill. I mean, we still have to get to editing, but but it felt easy and a lot less easier than I anticipated anyway in the beginning. It turns out you don't need to have a full production crew and the whole professional setup to record a podcast or to film a podcast. So we'll see how this goes, but please let me know in the comments your thoughts. I will be posting this on YouTube and I'm new to YouTube, so your support goes a long way. A gentle reminder that I am hosting a masterclass in Toronto and New York in April. My London class is already sold out for June, but if you want to come to either of those cities, they're going to be really incredible classes and I'm really excited to meet you there in person. I love an in-person class. There's truly nothing like being in the room together and just having that networking opportunity, and the motivation you walk away with is truly invaluable. So hope to see you there, but until next week or next fortnight, I'm podcasting fortnightly now, bi-weekly if you're in America, because it turns out that doing a podcast a week is a lot, and it gets to like Friday and I realize, oh my gosh, I haven't recorded a podcast, and then this is me setting a boundary. So I'm setting a boundary for myself with podcasting already, and I'm going to do it bi-weekly because that just feels a bit more manageable. But appreciate you guys being here and I'll see you then.